Hey, Raindrops. So I was getting, I can't even, let's just, look, I am getting ready for bed. Happy Memorial Day. Okay. Because I'm going to drop this on Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day. I love all of you. Hello. So let's talk about tonight's episode. Tell me if it's my bling, honey. Yes. Okay. So let's get into tonight's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So at this point, y'all gonna have to read me every week because I have a lot to say about tonight's episode. The latest episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So before I start, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Okay, like and subscribe, and hit the notification button so you don't miss an episode. My plan was to recap every single episode of Atlanta Housewives because I did it with Potomac. Because Atlanta and Potomac and Beverly Hills are my favorites. And Jersey, I didn't do this season because, like I said to y'all, I'm just over the Melissa versus Teresa of it all. So I'm not recapping Jersey. I am going to recap the reunion on my audio podcast. So make sure y'all check that out. But after tonight's episode, I'm not sure that I may have it in me to recap every single episode of Atlanta Housewives if it's going to continue this way. I gave the first episode an A. I said the second episode was decent, wasn't great, wasn't bad. I said it was fine. I wasn't mad at it. Third episode, I'm like, Houston, well, in this case, Atlanta, we have a problem. Tonight, bitch, I'm like, if y'all like tonight's episode, because let's have a real conversation. And I only want to talk to the people who's been watching Atlanta Housewives since season 1. What I'm realized about this new generation who found the show, y'all started watching Atlanta Housewives a few months ago or a few years ago. And that's why y'all be trying to read folks who got something to say. I want the real ones, the real fans, the day ones, who has been watching Atlanta Housewives since season 1, back in 2008. Because those are the ones who really are going to understand what I'm about to say. Some of y'all are catching up on Atlanta Housewives on Hulu, Hey You, YouTube, Peacock. I've been seeing some of y'all tweets talking about, I just watched season 6. Y'all just watched season 6, the greatest season of a reality show in history? But I digress. If y'all like tonight's episode, I'm going to quit my job, go back to my first job at 16 years old, which was Kentucky Fried Chicken in Detroit, Michigan, on the east side of the D, where I was a cashier, working the cash register, handing folks from all walks of life chicken, mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, corn on the cob with butter, and a splash of salt with a biscuit that you put honey into. You cut off the tab of the honey with your teeth, and then you spray a little honey on that biscuit with your fried chicken, and then you get the hot sauce, and you do a little dash of hot sauce on the chicken, and then you get the corn on the cob that has the splash of salt, and then you do like this. I'm gonna go back to working there, baby. If y'all thought tonight's episode was anything more than a 5 from a scale of 1 to 10, then what am I doing in this world? What am I doing? Y'all can read my shows. Carlos Huntsville ain't got this. DC, Belko. Child, y'all can read my shows. I don't care. Because we're all allowed to have an opinion. There are some episodes of my shows that I'd be like, well, that was an okay episode. It happens. But I'll be damned if I'm having 3 or 2 consecutive bad episodes. I may give y'all one I'm like, that's a filler episode. Because that's what happens. Sometimes you have a filler episode. But if you're having a filler episode after the 3rd or 4th episode of the season, then we're having an issue. Tonight's episode was really bad. And is raising a flag of what's disjointed about this current cast. Somebody have to explain to me on God's green earth, on Mother's Nature, why Kenya and Marlo are on the bus together going to Kenya's event that is personal to her. Why was Marlo there in the first place? Somebody needs to explain to me how in the world does it make sense for Marlo to go on a trip that means a lot to Kenya when they don't like each other? This is the 4th episode. Y'all have not shown me a scene where Kenya and Marlo address their issue to where it would make sense for Marlo to get invited. The moment I saw Marlo on the bus, I'm like, oh, we in for some bull. Why is Marlo on the bus? Kenya and Marlo have yet to have a conversation about the state of their friendship or lack thereof. We haven't seen anything about them talking about their relationship. In real life, Kenya would never invite Marlo to the corner store, to Waffle House, let alone to a trip in Alabama. That made no sense to me. So when that happened, I was like, this is not going to end well. And guess what? It did not. And for me, it's one of those things where I hate doing this because I already know it's going to be like, oh my God. It lets you know that nobody is paying attention. No one. Anybody involved in this show is not paying attention to what's making sense. That small error of Marlo going on a Kenya Moore trip when the two have yet to have a one-on-one or even a conversation since the season started, it raises the red flag of what are we doing here? Is everybody on autopilot? Things are going to crash and burn if it continues this way. It was so jarring to watch that. And then I'm gonna get into Marlo's behavior. And Marlo, you know I love you. In real life, me and Marlo are cool. We're friends. I love Marlo. Marlo is a friend to Reality The King podcast. She was on the show. People said, wow, Carlos, your interview with Marlo really showed us what a good person she is and how cool she is. And yeah, she can be shady and all that stuff. We're all shady at the end of the day, some more than others. But overall, Marlo is a decent person. I brought that out of Marlo in my interview with her. But Marlo, tonight was the first time Marlo called me because I already know what's about to happen. Your team, the fans, they're about to text you, DM you, at you, and say, Carlos King is reading you. And I'm telling you right now, as you're watching this, I'm not reading you. I'm trying to help and support you. And I need for you to take what I'm about to say as a friend. And you and I should have a conversation. I love you that much. This is my job and I have a job to do. And the moment I said I was going to do a podcast, I said I'm going to be honest. And if my real friends in this industry have a problem with it, they can call me, we can address it. And some have. Shout out to Potomac. One day I'll talk about that only if she approves me talking about it. Because one of the Potomac housewives called me and she read me for filth. A Potomac housewife called me and read me for filth. And the whole time I'm like this on the phone. And then I was like this. I disagree. And then this is the best part. And then at the end, she and I had a kiki, and I heard her side and I apologized. I gave a good housewife apology. Well, I apologize if you thought that way. No, all jokes aside, we had a good conversation, and it was good. But she called it. She called to read me. She read me. She did. I felt like Monique Mydenique, like I don't feel read. And then I was talking to my African, and he said, "Oh, she read you." And I said, "I don't feel read though." He said, "You may not feel read because you don't take things personally, and that's why people love you. But if she was to tell that story to another housewife, they all would say, 'Oh, you read Carlos.'" So my African said she read you, and I said, oh, "Okay." And me and her are cool. We were just DMing the other day. I love her. Hey. Anywho, Marlo, I have to read. Marlo, you gotta stop. You gotta nah. I gotta be serious for this one. Dear Marlo, you have to stop, sis. It's not looking good for you. It's not. It's tonight's episode may have been your worst performance on the show because you're giving pick me vibes and you're better than that. You are better than that. What you displayed at that restaurant with Kenya was unnecessary, it was uncalled for, and it was uncouth. Kenya, and you can say what you want about Kenya. I told y'all when Kenya pulled Kim Phil's chair, I told y'all this story. I was there. And when she did it, I was like, yo, what? I spoke to Kenya afterwards, like, because Kim Fields ran into not Maron Carlos. Kim Kim Fields power walked. Child, Kim Fields power walk. And I said, hold on, Kim Fields, slow down, sis. I don't jog, honey. Hold on, boo. And I said, Kim, go talk to your husband about what just happened, child. I'll see you later. So then I went to go talk to Kenya, and I said, that was bad. I said, Kenya, you know I love you. That now what you just did right there, that was really bad. And the fans are going to read you, and I need for you to be prepared for the read. Kenya did not argue with me. She said, I know. She said, damn. I said, yes, that was bad. That wasn't cute. You did too much. You did too much. So I'm honest with Kenya. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Marlo. Kenya can be Kenya. Tonight, Kenya did not do anything to you, Marlo, for you to behave in that way that you did with Kenya. Starting at the restaurant where you were talking over her, Marlo, like you were talking over her. It's not a big deal to be like, oh, my bad, sis, I talked over you. You were like, well, what you gonna do about it? I can talk over who I want to. It's like, yo, Marlo, we're trying to film a scene. We can't film a scene where you're talking over somebody. So Kenya is like, I'm trying to get my soundbite out. She wasn't trying to check you. But because you suffer from Kenya Moore PTSD, Kenya can breathe. Kenya can say twirl. Kenya can say I'm fabulous. And no matter what Kenya says out of her mouth in direction towards you, you will always take that as Kenya is trying to check you. And I'm saying to you right now, Marlo, she wasn't checking you, but you're going to have to check yourself. It's coming across like you're bitter. And that's why I really want to talk to you, because I want to use this forum to really have you understand the weight of what I'm trying to say here. I love you, Marlo, and I'm happy you have a peach. If you continue down this road, you are giving everybody who has said Marlo is the prime example of why you don't give a friend of a main housewife title. People are saying that about you. And yes, you're like me. We don't care what people say. But one thing about me, and you and I did talk about this, Marlo, on my podcast, there's certain people in our lives that we do listen to because they have our best interests at heart. And whoever is in your ear telling you what you're doing is cute, they're not your real person. There should be nobody in your ear who saw tonight's episode and said, yeah, girl, you did that, honey. Yes. You didn't do that. That? No. And this is what I want to say to y'all. And I'm going to go deeper. And this is what, when I talk about personal story, and yes, we saw some tonight. Thank y'all for the personal story in tonight's episode. Bring Kim Zolciak back. That's all. Because if that's the personal story I'm getting, Kim Zolciak, honey, put on your wig that you selling on eBay for $2,175.60. Put on that wig, baby. Go to the nearest liquor store. Get a red Solo cup. Go in your Bentley. Take a pack of Newports. Do a puff, pass, and bring your ass back down to Atlanta. Because if that's the personal story that I was asking for and y'all gave it to me tonight, we in trouble. Back to Marlo. Marlo, you being a housewife is a big deal. And I know how much that means to you. And you deserve it. You put in the work. You put in the time. You clocked in. You paid your dues. You did your book report, class report, extra credit. You stayed after class. You wrote on the chalkboard like Bart Simpson, I will be a housewife. I will be a housewife. I will be a housewife. You did it. Round of applause. You did it. And you deserve it. And I said to you, you deserve it. But I'm going to go deeper here. What you said on my podcast last year, when you said that you feel like none of the peach holders outside of Sheree, You said you feel like none of the peach holders give you the respect of you being a housewife, and that bothers you. And I believe you because you're wearing that on your sleeve when you're in scenes. When you are a housewife, Marlo, you have to be in the moment. You have to listen to conversation. You're no longer a friend of. Friend of, let me break it down for y'all. Friend of feel like they have to do everything to get noticed because they're a friend of. They don't get confessionals, none of that. They're friends of. Marlo, you gotta get out of this friend zone mentality that you have. What we're seeing on the show is you're behaving as somebody who has something to prove. And I'm going to say this, Marlo, and you're going to have to agree with me because I know deep down inside you do. You're looking for Kenya's approval. Kenya's approval means the world to you. And you don't have it. And every time you film with her, you're reminded that this woman that you may have, now I don't know this for a fact, a lot of Black girls from that generation, Kenya Moore was the poster child of chocolate beauty. Every brown-skinned Black girl back in Kenya's era looked to Kenya as the epitome of beauty. And I feel like, Marlo, when you look at Kenya, you're reminded that this woman does not respect you being at the same table as hers. So every chance you get, you try to diminish her because you feel like Kenya's silence to you is disapproving you. You want Kenya's approval and you're not getting it. You want the other girl's approval who holds a peach and you're not getting it. And it bothers you. And everything you're doing on the show right now, Marlo, phone ringing again. Everything you're doing right now, Marlo, is a display of somebody who's not comfortable in their position. You know how like you work so hard to get a promotion? I'm talking to like us folks, like 9-to-5ers, no matter what skill you have or job you have. You know how like you looking for that promotion and you work hard and you work hard and you work hard to get this promotion. And then you finally got the promotion you deserve. And you're promoted to like senior vice president of this department. And all of a sudden you're walking around trying to check folks because you feel like, child, I got what I wanted. I'm good. I got what I wanted. And you start to change because you start to let the promotion get to your head. Or when you date the hot guy that all the girls want. How they blowing me up. You date the hot guy that all the girls want. And you got him. And you do everything and rub this guy in people's faces. You post him on Instagram. You want to prove to people that you deserve him. Because in your mind, you feel like, wow, he chose me? He could have any girl he wants, but he chose me. And your insecurity starts showing by where you going, where you at. You start questioning him. You start doing the most. And he's like, babe, I love you. You're my lady. But because you feel like he's out of your league, your insecurity starts to show, excuse me. That's how Marlo is behaving as a housewife. I don't feel like you feel like your peach is secured enough. Even going to, you kicked Kenya's hotel room door. We just saw you talk about wanting to get your record expunged. We just saw you talk about how I'm not that woman I was 23 years ago. Well, baby, if you're not that woman 23 years ago, Marlo, you're gonna start having to behave in that way, because kicking someone's door who has a child in there and you're banging on the door, that is behavior of somebody who acts like they were 23 years ago, Marlo. You're not helping your case with that. You're not helping your case in the housewives stratosphere, and you're not helping your case at the courthouse if they want your record expunged. Because what they gonna do is play this scene and say, no, that's still the same person. And I'm trying to help you, Marlo. Like that was bad. And the fact that all y'all stood around and saw her do it, and none of y'all said, like, look, Marlo, bitch, I'm all about you making good TV. Like, look, Marlo, I'm all about you making good TV. None of y'all said to Marlo, like, girl, you're doing the most. You're gonna look crazy in these streets. Come here, bitch. Like, none of y'all told Marlo she looks crazy. None of y'all. I, the producer, saw Kenya pull Kim Phil's chair and said, yo, stop. Y'all know me because I was a part-time security guard on Housewives. I saw Portia get about her seat and I was like, no, Portia, I love you. I'm protecting you from yourself. No, Portia. On the boat, when Portia did all this to Cynthia's face. Is that what you said? Is that what you did? Is that what you did? I saw Portia do that. I was like, oh, I'm running. Saw her walking like Kim Fields, honey, to the elevator. Portia, we ain't doing that. None of y'all could stop Marlo and say, look, Marlo, no. Marlo, that's indefensible. Indefensible. I can't defend that. Last year, I felt like your first season as a peach holder, I felt like I understood why you were looking for the approval of these peach holders. I understood that last season when you came on my podcast and talked about it with me. I understood that. This is your second time as a peach holder, Marlo, and you need to be comfortable in your own skin and holding your own peach and holding your own. Because if you continue on like this, Marlo, I hate to say it, Marlo, but it may not end well for you. And that would just be horrible. Because it's like you're grasping at straws. The whole thing with Candy and look, when it comes to things that happens where people grieve and bad things happen, I always tell people, like, you can't tell somebody how to grieve and you can't tell somebody how to respond to someone's grieving. I just, and maybe I'm the minority in this, I just think it's uncomfortable for everybody. So to harp on that, it's hard to register that. I even said on Potomac seasons ago when Giselle and somebody was talking about how Karen lost her, I think at this time she may have lost both her parents, and they were on a cash trip, and instead of going out with the girls, she said, I want to take time to myself to like process. I'm still grieving pretty much. And then she went on Instagram Live with her fans and they read her. And I was like, if that's how she wants to process her grief, why are we judging Karen for? That's what she wants to do, how to process her grief. We all process grief differently. And that's why I'm not judging how Marlo's reacting. I'm not doing any of those things. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to make that a point of example when everybody chooses that differently. It's just, I don't know. And then, look, those to me were the highlights of this episode, because I really wanted to spend today's recap focused on Marlo, because The episode to me wasn't great. But hey, if y'all think it is, tell me in the comments why, and I'll read it. But, and then one more thing. You could tell that this Alabama trip meant a lot to Kenya because she was trying to do a good job being the host with who does the most. You know, she wanted to own it. And one thing I will say to y'all before I go, when you are shooting a reality show, okay? And there's a party that you have to, an existing party that you are invited to attend, meaning the cast is invited and the cameras, the production crew is invited. Let me tell y'all what happens to explain why they got kicked out tonight. When you ask, you need permission. So when you ask the venue if you can film there, 10 times out of 10, they're going to say to you, you have 1 hour to get what you want and get out, because they can't play popular music. So you're not going to hear Drake, Little Baby, Beyonce's Renaissance album that the Love and Marriage cast of men listen to at the after hours. So the venue and the promoters always feel like reality cameras disturb the mood. We disturb the vibe because y'all can't play music and people are staring at the housewives. So imagine you at the club and you see Kenya and the girls walk in. Instead of you trying to get the man with the bottle of Hennessy, you too busy staring at the housewives like what they doing. You taking pictures. Venues and promoters hate that. So what y'all saw tonight was, think about it. That's why Kenya was like, we're going to be late, because she knew I have a certain window of time to film. That's why she was rushing them. That's why she was mad that they were late, because she knew I have a certain window of time to get what I need to get. So that's why when you heard her talk to the producers, they were like, we got to go. They're kicking us out. They don't like us being there. It does nothing for them because people are paying to party. They're not paying to listen to Marlo and Kenya argue about a dress or an invite. They're not there for that. So that's what happened tonight. That's why they got kicked out. That's why they had to leave, and that's why Kenya said lights out, because I'm pretty sure Kenya was embarrassed. Like, it's my event, it's my trip. Y'all gonna show me not having a good party and I'm gonna look crazy. And that's why it's like, to add insult to injury, y'all have Marlo go to her hotel room and kick the door. I don't know what else to say. Look, we'll see how the rest of this season is going to go. The previews for next week's episode doesn't look good to me, so it doesn't. Sometimes I wonder, and I'll do a separate video on this, but I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Sometimes I wonder if a new group of friends should be a part of Atlanta Housewives. Like real friends, like a friend group should just go and be a part of the show to represent what Atlanta really is. Because Atlanta in 2008, when the show first started, that's not Atlanta in 2023. It isn't. Atlanta right now, the women in Atlanta right now are very different than the women in Atlanta in 2008. I want to see the real estate agent in Atlanta, honey, who is making millions selling homes, honey, and her Instagram is litty. You know, the real estate agent that be posing like this on Instagram. And she's looking down on the ground like she dropped a penny with a hole in it. You know those pictures the girls on Instagram be taking? And you be like, what are you looking at? Why are you looking at the flow? I sometimes wonder if that's what's needed. But I'm going to do a separate video on that. That's all I got for y'all. It's funny because my African, we were watching the show, and then I was watching a little bit of Summer House. By the way, I love Summer House. And I was like, let me get this video out the way because I'm sleepy. So I get up and I tell my African, I said, I'll be back. He said, where you going? I said, I'm going to take my recap of Atlanta Housewives episode. He said, oh, that should take you 3 minutes. I said, why 3 minutes? He said, because nothing happened in this episode. It was horrible. And that's my African who's not in the business. I said, you like this episode? He said, did you? I said, no. He said, nothing happened. He said it was awful. And he loves reality shows. His favorite is Love After Lockup. I started watching Love After Lockup because my African started watching it. His favorite reality show is Love After Lockup, The Family Chantel on TLC. Am I saying it right? The Family Chantel. I saw a few episodes. I said, this one is good. And he loves Huntsville, and he loves some Bell. Child, he loves Bell Collective. So I took more than 3 minutes. Let me get back to my African child. But tell me what y'all think. Do y'all agree with me? Do y'all disagree with me? And I'll see y'all in the next round.